Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Irfan Mujeebuddin with the National Public Utilities Council, and we are all here today to learn, share, and collaborate. Shout out to Z Prime for setting the stage for it. And today I wanted to share a few things that the NPUC has learned recently in our experience about driving that effort to collaborate across decarbonization efforts. First, just a little bit of background about the NPUC. The NPUC was started to spark meaningful discussions about decarbonization, help establish and share viable solutions toward achieving net zero, and serve as a knowledge repository built from the experience of the utilities industry. Overall, our goal is to drive progress through collaboration and critical thinking, and the NPUC is also a part of a family of companies all aimed at advancing sustainability through different areas like change management, data innovation, organizational development, and even a portfolio of regenerative farming projects in Oklahoma through the Gulch Environmental Foundation. And through our experiences with our family of companies, we learned that in order for the NPUC to drive effective collaboration, we need to make sure of three elements. Number one, we need to be absolutely real about where the utilities industry is on that path to decarbonization. We need to look past all the greenwashing and all the confusion that comes with the words decarbonization and sustainability, ESG. And secondly, we need to communicate in a way that's relevant to all utilities and all stakeholders. Everyone needs to be a part of that conversation. And thirdly, we needed to create an environment of trust, allowing not just for open-mindedness, but also welcoming a certain level of vulnerability that would be required to have that desire to improve. And so with those points in mind, last year we published our first ever annual decarbonization report. Our annual decarbonization report takes the ranking of decarbonization progress of the top 30 investor-owned utilities. We started by collecting sustainability plans and different data points from the top 30 IOUs. And we took that data and we sliced it and we diced it and we analyzed it. And we started to understand the current state of decarbonization within utilities. This includes the alarmingly growing cost of climate disasters, which has more than doubled in the past 10 years, including Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Harvey, and more recently, the California wildfires. Looking holistically, we have a view of emissions from all over the world. US accounting for almost 5 billion metric tons of CO2 emissions in 2020. India, China, and US making up for over half of the world's emissions. So we put together a current state assessment of decarbonization, which allowed us to then understand some of the interconnectedness of it all, including certain obstacles like regulatory and funding and regulatory needs, highlighting the need for investment toward next-gen technologies, retiring old assets, and not just creating a sustainable future, but also creating a resilient one. Another obstacle is the socioeconomic divide, something that we talked about this week. Something, as we still have these income and technology and awareness gaps to overcome. So in our report, we cover 6 roadblocks, acknowledging that some of the challenges that are happening over here are also happening over there and over there. And we thought, wouldn't it be great if all the companies, instead of working in their individual silos to overcome the same goals and challenges, were able to share their lessons and collaborate on solutions that includes more than just their perspective. Collaboration that's beyond city limits. So what were those common collaboration areas for the top 30 IOUs? Well, that we answered in the decarbonization index. That wasn't the decarbonization index. That's the decarbonization index. All right. This is as if we took the entire class's report card, the graduating class of net zero by 2050, and published them for everybody to see. And what did we learn? We learned that PSEG tops the chart. They want to achieve net zero by 2030, 5 years earlier than anyone else on this list. Only 3 of these utilities, NextEra, Avangrid, and Exelon, scored a 5 on the fuel mix metric because they generate more than 80% of the electricity from low carbon sources. Also, we learned that only 5 of the 30 utilities, the top 30 IOUs, scored higher than a decarbonization score of 4, while almost 20 scored 3.3 or less. Now, we published this not for anyone to say that you're passing and you're failing, or you're doing good, or you're behind, but this is to create that level of open-mindedness and vulnerability that's needed to acknowledge that where we are in our progress and where through the necessary collaboration we can be. We also did research into what ESG reporting looked like across the top 30 IOUs to support transparency and accessibility to the vital data that's needed to track our decarbonization progress. We can see that in scope 1, it's reported consistently across the board, but there's still opportunity to improve in scope 3 emissions or in electric vehicle plans. Now, we could have collected this data and put it in an email and just CC the top 30 IOUs and said, hey, here are the areas in which we need to collaborate. But then we wouldn't really be communicating to all levels of relevancy needed to collaborate. And that's because the solutions that are required for these challenges and these obstacles require a multi-stakeholder approach, which includes utilities to lead economy-wide efforts, government to support the funding and the planning that's necessary, investors to bring about stronger advocacy and PPP programs, and of course, the customers. One way or another, this solution includes all of us. In the report, we cover 6 different strategies for these stakeholders to work together in achieving net zero. And we hope that this report continues to spread not just through the private sector, but to also be a guiding light for all of you in the public sector. Our local municipalities, who often have a better tie to the community and have their opportunities to help show some of the other guys how it's done with some of these strategies. And so this was our first report, and we're currently planning our 2023. And where we plan to continue to build the collaboration by keeping the steam of keeping it real about where our progress is with decarbonization, taking our communication to new levels and new heights, and continue to create a certain vulnerability within the industry to acknowledge our place in achieving net zero. And so if everyone reaches underneath your seat, you'll find nothing, because that wouldn't be sustainable. But what you can do is you can scan this QR code, and in fact, Z-Prime will be sending you your own copy. So yes, you get a report, you get a report, and you get a report. So please do look out for that after this session. And if I invite you all to take a look at our report, share it with your peers, and if anyone would like a deeper dive into the report, reach out to me and the NPUC. Until then, happy learning, happy sharing, and happy collaborating. Thank you.